Hey everybody, what is going on? It's Adam Vanderhoof here from GAWDA TV. After waiting more than a year to gather together in person, this year's Spring Management Conference was an absolute home run. We set not one, but two attendance records. It's more than 700 people gathered in Nashville, including 246 distributor attendees. Thank you all to the GAWDA members who made this event possible. This year's event was packed full of wonderful networking and educational opportunities. Before the festivities even began, GAWDA's board of directors and committees met together to work on continuing to enhance your GAWDA membership. Check back in the next few videos to see interviews with GAWDA committee chairs discussing the important initiatives they are working on. Monday evening was the official kickoff of the SMC, as newcomers to the association and the industry gathered together for the 3-to-1 reception at the world-famous Wild Horse Saloon. After that was the president's welcome reception. Attendees were treated to Nashville staples like hot chicken sandwiches and great music and line dancing. It was the perfect kickoff to the event. On Tuesday, attendees were each able to attend 3 separate educational sessions as part of the educational track program. The program had 3 time slots in 5 different tracks that impact the industry. After lunch on Tuesday was the contact booth program, where attendees got to visit with more than 100 exhibitors to see the latest and greatest innovations in the industry. Finally, on Wednesday, attendees were treated to keynote sessions from Anthony Iannarino, Praxair's Ben Glazer, and retired U.S. Navy Captain David Marquet. It was an incredible 3 days. For a more thorough recap of this year's event, click the link in the description below to see the SMC Recap Connection that was published last week. In today's episode, we take a look back at this year's Spring Management Conference, including with an interview with GAWDA President Abydee Butler Moore, and a fun segment where we interviewed members on the contact booth program floor. Plus, we're joined by GAWDA consultant Rick Schweitzer to talk upcoming DOT legislation. You do not want to miss a second of this. So, stick around right after a word from today's sponsor, Cavagna North America.
Being active for more than 70 years, always following the original mission. Wherever gas is the integral part and provides energy for everyday life, there will be the technological and productive commitment from Cavagna Group.
We are joined first today by 2021 GAWDA President Abydee Butler Moore. Abydee, great to see you, and thanks again for being part of the show today.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
After having to cancel the 2020 SMC and delay the 2021 SMC until May, how does it feel when it's all said and done to have set attendance records at this year's SMC?
I am so proud of our membership for showing up in the way that they did in Nashville. The record attendance on both the distributor side as well as the overall attendees over the past decade was phenomenal. Showing up is a big deal, and I think the industry is ready to learn, ready to collaborate, and was really hungry for information sharing about best practices and for content learning. It was great to be back together, and I'm really appreciative of all the companies that supported the conference.
This year introduced for the first time the educational tracks. What has been the feedback on that program?
The feedback on the tracks has been really strong. I think we're on to something for the SMC. It's definitely a model that we hope to continue with differentiating the value proposition between the SMC, the annual convention, and the regional meetings. They each serve a different level of content, and the education tracks format at the SMC was a home run.
Were there any lessons learned from this conference that you think can be applied to the annual convention later this year?
I think the hardest part now with planning the annual convention is that the bar is set really high. The SMC was a stellar event, and I think objects in motion stay in motion. So there's wonderful momentum throughout this year. So the regional meetings this summer have to rise to the occasion. The annual convention really has to rise to the occasion. I think the biggest hurdle or lesson learned from the SMC that we hope to apply, we had such tremendous content, which is really important. That's a strong theme within GAWDA. It needs to be content focused. So how we're going to top the SMC's content at the annual convention is a tall order that I'm busy working on with our GAWDA headquarters team. So that's the big opportunity moving forward.
On Monday of the SMC, the GAWDA board and GAWDA committee had a chance to meet in person. Is there anything that came out of those meetings that you're particularly excited to share with GAWDA members?
Sure. One of the new formats that happened somewhat behind the scenes this year at the SMC was we included all of the committee chairs in a strategic discussion with the GAWDA board of directors. And every board member, as well as every executive committee member, was assigned a GAWDA committee to serve as a liaison. One of our strategic initiatives this year is to develop a talent pipeline within GAWDA. Somewhat of a back office goal, but we want to make sure that within the volunteerism, that there's a nice bullpen for board members, for executive committee members. We have wonderful, amazingly talented leaders that serve on our committees. But oftentimes in the past, we found that those committees were sometimes running full speed in different directions because we at GAWDA leadership had never set the stage of strategic direction. So it was really important this year to have the committee chairs engage in the board discussion. So there was really nice conduit of information sharing for where's the association heading and how are the committees helping to get us there.
Any last thoughts that you want to share with GAWDA members?
I think from GAWDA, we would just really like to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who attended the Spring Management Conference. Thank you so much to the companies who sponsored their associates to attend. The beauty of the SMC track format was you really needed to send at least 5 people in order to catch all the content running simultaneously. So thank you so much to the businesses who invested in the learning and development and the continual education of their teams. And then for the attendees, thank you for engaging and learning. And we challenged one another during the conference to implement a take-home idea, something that would pay for the trip. So I trust that we're all busy working on those implementations and those new ideas. So just on behalf of the entire association and the GAWDA leadership team, thank you for your support of the SMC.
Abydee, thanks so much for joining and congratulations again.
Thank you. See you at the regional meetings and the annual convention.
It is important to keep your equipment running. Cryovation's thecryoshop.com has all the parts you need on the shelf to keep your plant going. Valves, vaporizers, pump parts, and more. Visit www.thecryoshop.com. It is easy and secure. Today's member news segment is brought to you by Anthony Welded Products, 4 generations strong since 1958. Timothy Mast Jr. was named CEO and president of CryoWorks. Timothy Mast Sr. and Donna Mast have been elected chairman and director of the company. Harris Products offered its new specialty gas catalog. Fine Power Tools announced that Joel West was promoted to commercial sales manager and Doug Hohenstein was promoted to Senior Business Development Manager. SafTCart gave a demonstration of its demo mobile at the Spring Management Conference in Nashville. GAWDA Media visited Dino Braid's Clarence, New York facility. Volunteer Welding hosted a hospitality event at its Nashville facility during the SMC. Cavagna Group appointed Dennis Gardini as line of business manager for compressed gas equipment. Rotorex unveiled its new website. And finally, GAWDA is pleased to welcome Baco as a new member of the association. If you have member news that you'd like to see in the GAWDA Connection or a future episode of GAWDA TV, click the link in the description. At this year's record-setting SMC, attendees had the opportunity to walk the contact booth program floor and meet with 109 exhibitors. It is just one of the numerous incredible networking opportunities that GAWDA events provide, and is just one of the reasons why these GAWDA events are truly a can't-miss opportunity. During the contact booth program, GAWDA Media representative Hannah Gray caught up with many attendees on the floor in an effort to get to know them just a little bit better. Check out what some of this year's SMC attendees had to say about business, networking, and the value that GAWDA events bring to the industry.
Everyone had a wonderful time at the 2021 SMC in Nashville. It was great to see everybody there. We decided to have a little fun here at GAWDA TV and do a this or that segment. This is purely just to get to know GAWDA members a little better, their preferences, and maybe even a few laughs. Enjoy.
Networking.
Networking. Business session.
Networking.
It's a tough one. Networking.
I really enjoy the business sessions, but because I'm an extrovert, I also like the networking.
Networking.
Drinking. Networking. Can you edit that? Networking. Okay.
Networking.
Home.
Work from home. Office.
From home.
Office for sure.
Office.
Both at different times.
Both. Hybrid. In the office.
In the office.
In the office.
Podcast.
Audio book. No, not audio. Excuse me. Hardback. Yeah.
Audiobook.
Podcast.
Audiobook.
Audiobook.
Ooh. Podcast.
Phone call.
Phone call.
Email. I'm old-fashioned, but I think I probably prefer email.
Email.
Phone call.
Email.
Email.
Gas.
Welding.
Gas.
Welding.
Good question. Gas.
75.
Really?
There's 3 a year, 25 years.
Oh. 40.
I've been to 10.
Well, I started attending in '69.
Wow.
And I hadn't missed many.
I believe this is my 4th SMC. This is my first one.
Maybe 8 or so.
This is my 4th, I think. 4th.
Say 7 or 8.
Hundreds.
National meetings, 25.
Oh my God, I've been going to GAWDA meetings since the early 2000s. Missed very few along the way, so.
Probably 20.
Ooh, I don't know, 30 maybe?
This one.
This one's your favorite?
Colorado Springs.
San Diego.
All of them's been good, but I'm going to tell you, this one might be the best because we've all been in hibernation and everything. So I think this might be the best. It's like a family reunion.
New York City.
Seattle was a lot of fun. A couple years ago, yeah.
Seattle. Had a good time in Seattle. Yep.
Of course, Seven Springs.
No. They're all great. Everyone's unique.
Hawaii. Hawaii is my all-time favorite.
Probably my 2 in Baltimore and the Broadmoor in Colorado, 2012. Good stuff. And we're going back. I can't wait.
St. Louis.
It would have to be Maui, I would say. Yeah.
Find new areas of discovery.
Just really be positive. Perseverance, hang in there.
People are crazy.
To be flexible and to never give up.
Health, family, and
getting together with old friends, which I love doing right now and today.
Expect the unexpected.
Perseverance.
You know, making sure that we make that effort to stay connected.
Be ready for change. Never know when it's going to happen.
Definitely taught you how to adapt and change, and we all, I think, learned a lot over this and have to move forward.
Not to conform.
Insight into the industry and understanding the needs of the industry more.
Just being here, just being with friends, talking business, getting ideas, take home ideas to go back and make yourself better.
Oh, I have to say the opportunity to spend time with other distributors, but especially our suppliers who are so important to our business and our growth.
We are joined once again by GAWDA Government Affairs consultant Rick Schweitzer. Rick, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Rick, you spoke with us earlier this year about the state of the proposed infrastructure package in Congress, as well as on the highway spending bill. Can you give GAWDA members an update on the state of these pieces of legislation?
Well, they're very much combined, and Congress needs to do something on the highway bill by September 30th, which is when the current funding program runs out. There's been negotiations in the House, the Senate, and with the White House for the past several weeks. They haven't really reached any agreement yet, but I do expect that there will be an agreement, at least on the highway part of infrastructure. Now, the White House infrastructure package was initially over $2 trillion worth of spending in 8 years. They've now pared that down to $1.7 trillion, which is still an enormous amount of money. The House and Senate Republicans would like to spend just on highways somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 to $600 billion over a 5-year period. And that's really where the negotiations are. What's the scope of the bill, how much spending, how many years? But I do expect that they will have money for new highways, new bridges, road reconstruction. We all know that the maintenance has been deferred for too long. The real question is how you're going to pay for it. The White House wants to increase corporate income taxes from 21% to 28% and to have a minimum tax that all corporations must pay. The House and Senate Republicans are adamantly opposed to that. They want to continue the current user fee process where the Highway Trust Fund is primarily funded through gasoline and diesel fuel taxes. There's also the possibility of a vehicle miles traveled tax, which probably will be implemented in the next highway bill several years from now. Right now, we're still trying to figure out how something like that would be put in place.
In the May 1st GAWDA Connection, you wrote that the FMCSA had proposed a 4-year extension to integrate medical certifications into CDLs. What does that mean for GAWDA members?
Functionally, it means you'll continue to do what you've been doing for 4 more years. So you don't have to change anything. But there is a final rule that ultimately says that when a driver goes to a medical examiner and gets a new medical certificate for 2 years or something less, that the medical examiner will then electronically transfer that information to the FMCSA, who will then electronically transfer that information to the state driver licensing agency, so that the medical certificate will automatically be attached to that driver's CDL in the state records. Right now, the driver has to get a medical certificate, take that to the state driver licensing agency, and the state licensing agency then has to input that information. So ultimately, we're going to have a system where the driver doesn't have to take this on him or herself. The problem is that the computer systems are just not ready to handle this, particularly at the state level, so they've delayed it another 4 years.
Staying with the FMCSA, it has also sought to input on automated driving systems. How far off do you feel that technology is from being widely implemented, and what will it mean for GAWDA members once it is?
In the past, I have been much more aggressive in my predictions on implementation of automated driving systems than I believe is the case now. So it's going to be a few more years before this is widely implemented. But the technology is available. It's being tested in a final stage, but what we're really dealing with now is the regulatory side of it. How is the Federal Department of Transportation going to come up with regulations that implement and override all of the state rules that we have now on using autonomous vehicles? I think it's going to be a complete game changer for the distribution industry. It will substantially change the nature of the driving job. The driving job might not exist. You might have people who ride along in the trucks simply to load and unload or deal with customers and leave the driving to the vehicle or to the computer. It's also going to have an impact, obviously, on liability questions. If an automated vehicle is involved in a crash, who's responsible? The person who programmed the software? Probably. The company that developed the vehicle? Probably. The company that operated the vehicle? Maybe, maybe not. All of those things are yet to be determined. But I do think that it is the ultimate answer to the driver shortage that everyone is facing today.
Is there any other important regulatory news that GAWDA members should be paying specific attention to right now?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, in February of 2022, which is not that far away, there is a new rule that's going to go into effect from the FMCSA on driver training for entry-level drivers, which is somebody who wants to get a CDL or to upgrade a CDL from Class B to Class A or to get a hazmat endorsement. That individual is first going to have to complete a schedule of training from a certified training agency. Now, the trainer can actually be a trucking company that has a training program, or a vocational tech school, or a truck driver training school. Your companies can do that yourself if you choose to. You simply have to meet the criteria that are in the regulations for the truck driving training curriculum, and then you have to certify that you've met those by going on the trainer registry, which is going to be housed on the FMCSA website. So this fall, we're looking to see this training provider registry on the FMCSA website, and ultimately, come next February, you won't be able to use a CDL driver unless that driver who got a new CDL was trained in by a company that actually is on the registry.
Rick, thanks so much for joining. We'll see you soon. Thank you all so much for being with us today. We enjoyed looking back on our time spent in Nashville and cannot wait to be together again at the upcoming regional meetings and annual convention in Colorado Springs. Make sure to tune in next episode as we speak with some of GAWDA's committee chairs about the work they are doing to enhance your GAWDA membership. Until next time, I'm Adam Vanderhoof.